Yeah, absolutely. Wow, this was hilarious because I guess I didn't realize because I thought this was fake. Well, this is what was funny about this. I thought this was fake because I saw like finally like Libs of TikTok face reveal and like Tucker Carlson and all of this stuff, and I was like, what? Is this actually going down? Um, and then it was just like a normal Tucker Carlson interview, but people were really excited about it, and there was a lot of cringe here, and basically everything you would expect from the person that runs the Libs of TikTok account. I haven't watched the entire segment. I just read some pull quotes that people had put on Twitter, but basically like par for the course, right? Like groomer, fucking hysteria, and triggering the libs as the name suggests.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Libs of TikTok is a pretty blatantly homophobic and transphobic account at this point. At one point, they had some plausible deniability where it's like, oh, we're not, commentating, we're not espousing any specific opinion about the LGBT community. We're just posting videos of them in their own words. Here's a video of a crazy teacher talking about gender ideology to their 12-year-olds, or here's some, wild non-binary person on TikTok that uses the fair pronouns. Like, isn't this wild? But we're not homophobic. We're just posting their own videos and letting it speak for itself. That was kind of the defense you heard from Libs of TikTok and their defenders for a while. But now basically the mask has come straight the fuck off. Chaya Raickik, who is the lady behind Libs of TikTok, has really gained a profile in right-wing media in large part thanks to the fact that she's been signal boosted by a lot of prominent and influential right-wing personalities and commentators. And this has led to her now having a profile on basically the largest platform in the country, that being Tucker Carlson, not Tucker Carlson Tonight, but Tucker Carlson Today, which is his hokey daytime show, I guess, where he sits in this ridiculous wood paneled room looking like a working class farmer boy or some shit.
That's what Jimmy was on, right?
Yeah, Jimmy's been on Tucker Carlson Tonight and Tucker Carlson Today. But yeah, there's been a number of questionable individuals to make an appearance on this program, as you guys know. And yeah, Zaina, Tucker literally called her one of today's most important journalists or some shit like that. It's crazy. The kind of clout she's been able to accumulate based on basically just pandering to the most fascist strains of the far right, the homophobic far right, the transphobic far right, and painting all members of the LGBT community as groomers, which is an age-old trope, and stuff like that. But either way, she went on Tucker Carlson. This was a clip that was getting a lot of play. A lot of people were reacting to it for obvious reasons. So let's take a listen here before we get into some reactions, including from friend of the show, Briahna Joy Gray, who did not mince her words when reacting to Chaya's commentary.
What is going on here? Do you have any theories?
I think there's something so unique about the LGBTQ community. Has become this cult, and it's so captivating, and it pulls people in so strongly, unlike anything we've ever seen. And they brainwash people to join, and they convince them of all of these things. And it's really, really hard to get out of it. It's really difficult. And there are studies on this. Like there's been a lot of reporting on this about people, parents who are like, my child is starting to say, that they're non-binary or transgender or whatever. And what do I do? How do I stop this? And it's really, really difficult. It's unlike anything we've ever seen, I think. It's extremely poisonous.
But do you see a spiritual component to any of this? You don't have to answer that if you don't want.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I do. I don't think this makes sense at all.
No, it doesn't make any sense. And I think they're evil. And sometimes we try to break it down a lot, and we discuss like why this is happening, what's happening, and whatever. And I think sometimes the simplest answer is like they're just evil. They're bad people. They're just evil people, and they want to groom kids.
Okay.
They're recruiting.
really quickly, just to jump in, I want to say the first
what-
thing that I think anybody on neutral territory, because I know we have some people that listen to our show that like still like try and fight with us about this or disagree with us about this. So even if we're on neutral footing here, like let's just start from scratch. And I'm taking that argument at face value. Anybody who says there have been lots of studies on this and then doesn't tell you a single study is 100% full of shit every single time. Every smart person I can think of that tells you, oh, there have been studies on this, they immediately follow it up with X, Y, and Z. Which study? Where was that study done? Was it at a university? Was that a peer-reviewed paper that did that? And if you're accustomed to debating about something, you would think a gold mine, like, oh, research shows LGBTQ people are groomers, apparently, or whatever fucking smoking gun she claimed to be sitting on from the fucking, researchers at wherever the fuck institute she was in. Obviously that doesn't exist, or why wouldn't you just be fucking waving that at everybody? So this like broad generalization of just, oh, there have been studies about this, shoddy at best. But then to just go hook, line, and sinker into the like Christian evangelism of it and being like, I think they're just evil. Do you think there's a spiritual component to this? I think they're evil. And I honestly, I always forget, like I say this to you, Gavin, all the time. I always forget until it rears its head. And we've had like Frank Schaefer on our show. We've talked about how like the fucking evangelical right wing, like they never die out. They just get more press or less press, but they're always like stirring in there. And then I see a guy like Haxon, who's out there. He's really starting to make that like religion and the like spiritual stuff like a part of his like grift again. And I'm like, oh no, we're going to have to deal with that again. So those are all of my preliminary reactions to this, but what were your thoughts, bro?
Well, again, it's just a total mask off moment. For one, Chaya Raickik clearly is not very talented as like a communicator or a commentator. Just because you were able to successfully create a popular account that posts cringy videos of libs or whatever does not mean that those skills translate into being a good commentator. She comes off dumb as fuck in this interview. She clearly doesn't really know what she's talking about or have anything of value to contribute to the conversation other than, aren't LGBT folks bad and evil? And again, previously there was some level of plausible deniability. Like when we argued with Glenn Greenwald about Libs of TokTok, he was like, well, at the beginning, they really weren't adding any commentary to it. They weren't demonizing LGBT people as a whole. They were just posting cringy examples of SJWs and of liberals and of people that, maybe have made the gender ideology their whole personality. And that stuff can be a little bit cringy, whatever, who cares? Now there's no plausible deniability because you literally came out here and said that the entire LGBT community has become this cult, which is extremely poisonous, and that they're just evil people. They're out here to groom kids. They're recruiting. There's no sophistication to this propaganda. If you want to be a sophisticated homophobe or transphobe, you find the worst examples and you highlight them, as Libs of TokTok has done, and say, hey, I'm not against all gay people. I love trans people. I love, people of all different shapes and forms and sexualities and genders. I don't care about that. I'm just against the grooming of kids in these very specific parts of the factions of the community, but of course not the whole community. But with this interview and with this statement, she literally takes the mask right off and just says, no, it's the whole LGBT community. They're all grooming kids and they're all fucking evil. It's like, wow. But what a fucking intelligent contribution to the discourse. What a sophisticated fucking contribution to the discourse. But I'm glad she went on here and I'm glad she said it, because now we all know, and now they can't fucking gaslight us anymore and say that, oh, she's not actually homophobic. Like, actually, she clearly fucking is.
100%. Yeah, and a lot of people were saying, "Oh, she's Jewish." Her specific religion is not important. I was commenting on the fact that Tucker and her are framing it in like an evil or spiritual way just shows that this is like retreading like lost ground, which is the like anti-LGBTQ and the radical religious fanaticism, right? Basically every Abrahamic religion has a strain of it that's like massively fucking anti-LGBTQ, and I would have beef with all of it, right? So that would be like fucking Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. So you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. So yeah, this is just old school, like fucking homophobia, and fuck Tucker Carlson. I mean, obviously fuck Tucker Carlson, but it is stunning to see just the lack of any sort of pushback here. You think if you're going to make a broad sweeping statement to this effect, demonizing an entire fucking community of people based on immutable characteristics, that there would be at least some pushback from Tucker. For her saying the LGBT community has become this cult, it's extremely it's extremely poisonous. Tucker doesn't even add the basic follow-up of like, wait, you mean the whole LGBT community, like the whole fucking community? You think just your average, gay dude down the street or something is evil? There's nothing of the sort. Let's take one more listen to the first part of this.
What is going on here? Do you have any theories?
I think there's something so unique about the LGBTQ community has become this cult, and it's so captivating, and it pulls people in so strongly, unlike anything we've ever seen. And
that's very Trumpian, by the way. They pull people in, unlike anything we've ever seen. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro?
They brainwash people to join, and they convince them of all of these things. And it's really, really hard to get out of it. It's really difficult. And there are studies on this. Like there's been a lot of reporting on this about people.
From who?
Parents who are like, my child is starting to say, that they're non-binary or transgender or whatever. And what do I do? How do I stop this?
How do I be a dog shit parent?
It's really, really difficult. It's unlike anything we've ever seen, I think. It's
unlike anything we've ever seen.
Do you see a spiritual component to any of this?
Again, no follow-up, no specification needed. Like, you're talking about the whole LGBT community. You think that all gay people and all trans people are just being brainwashed based on this insidious doctrine of grooming pedophiles, or like that's really what you're gonna equate the entire LGBT community, the entire gay and trans experience to? No follow-up. Just a complete lack of any regard for basic fucking humanity, and continual insistence on demonizing this community, hell or high water, regardless of the consequences. Just cold-blooded sociopathic bigotry, if you ask me.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what it is. And now again, it's always profitable, but now we're seeing this specific brand of bigotry, crop back up again and become really the bread and butter of the right wing, their favorite culture war issue, as they simultaneously bemoan the culture war. Oh, I hate the culture war, except I only want to talk about these three things that are 100% culture war issues. That's the bread and butter of the right wing, as we say. But anyway, I know you wanted to react to this Briahna Joy Gray clip.
Yeah, it's not actually a clip. Briahna just put a few tweets out commenting on, sharing her opinion on this appearance. This one I thought was really well worded, and I appreciate Briahna coming out here, full-throated condemnation of this shit. Briahna says, "This woman is so embarrassing. Imagine using this puerile troll for the basis of your politics. Imagine having so few problems that you can table wealth inequality, child hunger, and medical debt to cape for the Libs of TokTok woman. Tragically unserious." So I thought that was great. I totally agree with Briahna, obviously. This woman is entirely embarrassing. Again, her propaganda isn't even remotely sophisticated. It's really just brain dead, old school bigotry regurgitated, as if it's somehow the enlightened perspective of someone who's just looking out for the kids. So I agree with Briahna. It is tragically unserious and completely and utterly embarrassing to anyone who has ever given this woman an ounce of fucking respect.
Yeah, it's also funny. One thing that people who, again, I already revealed her first trick of something that dumb people do to look smart is they name, all these people are studying this. There's all kinds of reporting on this. And then they don't mention any reporting. Like, I swear to God, listen to smart people. They will talk about reporting and then immediately list at least one, if they can, two examples to back up their argument. That is just how debating works. The other thing that dumb people do, if they're really obsessed with looking smart, is they do that pausing shit, where it's like, like Elon Musk used to do this shit. It was agonizing. I listened to him on Joe Rogan one, the infamous Joe Rogan, whatever. And he would do this thing where every time Joe would ask him a question, he would, I'm pausing and I'm saying like four things that are really like, it didn't take a lot of brain power. And now I'm saying it again, a little more concerned, a little soft, like I'm in a Tim Burton movie. And then I follow it up with something that is like a known beat to the ground cliche or fucking platitude. And then that's it. There's no there. That it's just a nothing burger. The only thing there is just, I hate LGBTQ people. And I want them to all be associated as like vile cult worshiping fucking demons that are after your children. Like that's literally what she's doing.